Hello, everyone. Hello and happy Wednesday. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Leah Rolston. On behalf of Faber-Castell USA and Michael Stores, I'd like to welcome everybody and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. It's always more fun when we're doing this live, where we can engage, talk stories, in between the class. So, speaking of the class, today is going to be really serene. Wow, that's a nice word. So it's very relaxing because we're going to be creating some happy mess. Messy because we'll be working with the Faber-Castell Gelatos and we'll be doing a lot of blending. We're going to create like an under the sea painting, using the gelatos. We'll learn how to create some layers. And really, I think this type of art is my favorite, where it's so freeing. Um, and so I hope you're excited as much as I am. And we'll talk about the supplies we're going to need today. But before that, I'd like to say hello to everyone joining us. Hi, Christina. We have some friends from Virginia, Minnesota. We have some good friends from Los Angeles. Hello, neighbor, Denton, Texas. We have good friends from New Jersey. We have some friends from El Paso, Texas. So, hello. Hi, Tina from Austin. Some friends from Virginia as well. Thank you all so much for sharing where you guys are joining from. We have from Massachusetts. Is MA Massachusetts? I always get confused with that. So, hola, Christina. All right. So, today, as you can see here, I have my watercolor paper and I taped it because we're going to be working with a lot of water, a lot of moisture. So, what happens is that the paper tend to warp when we use a lot of water, when it gets a lot of moisture in there. And so I just use a painter's tape and then I tape the four corners, just to also keep it, stable and not move around and all that. So if you're painting with me today, you should do this first step as well. I'm using a Canson watercolor paper here. This is a cold press, so has a bit of a texture. Now, I am contemplating if I want to use some gesso. If you have some gesso and you love using gesso to prep your canvas first or your surface, please feel free to do so. The reason why is because I couldn't find my heat gun. And you guys know me when I work with gesso because it takes a while, to dry. So I'm not patient, and I don't want to take up so much of the time just waiting for it to dry because we have limited time. So I might not use my gesso, but if you want to do so, feel free to use your gesso as your first stage. All right, to prep this. And then, like what I said, we are going to be working with the Faber-Castell Gelatos. These are the colors that I'll be using today. I mean, you don't have to have all of it. Um, but the more colors you have, the more fun it is because you can really create some fun layers in here. All of the colors are so similar, right? But I have some metallics in here. So we have like different shine, some sheen to it, some pretty metallic finish. So pretty. I also have some colors from the iridescent set. Again, the colors, the ones that I'm going to use, uh, these are not all, required to finish this beautiful painting. You want to have a light middle tone blue and a darkest blue. We can also use some of the maybe if you have a gray, like a deeper gray to create over here. Um, at the bottom, you can also use maybe deep purple, that's going to work as well. So I have the light blue. I also have a white in two finishes. I have one coconut and the metallic icing. Again, not required, not necessary. I'm going to teach you if you don't have the white, we can definitely learn how to create like a negative space in here. Another important one is a baby wipes. Maybe you don't have a baby wipes. Maybe you have a paper towel that might work. I love baby wipes because it already has some moisture in there. So I don't have to keep dipping in the water. So, of course, gelatos will be doing a lot of blending, water, clean water in here. And then I was thinking maybe we can paint some of the seaweeds down there, the corals and all that. That's why I just pulled some round brush here, number two. But we might not need it because we have the Faber-Castell. This is a big brush in black. This is what I might use to paint the corals and the seaweeds at the bottom of the ocean. All right. Are we ready? Are we ready to go? Okay, I want to make sure that I have my chat pulled up in here. So if you have any questions, I can get to that. All right, here we go. Again, like what I said, we'll be doing a lot of layers. And so since this is not prepped with gesso, I am not going to blame the gelatos. What's going to happen is that it might just take me a little bit longer to blend everything, but we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Hold on. Let me see. All right. My view is in the speaker view. Can you guys see my screen? Everything looks good. Let me know in the chat.
Yeah, everything looks fine.
Am I in speaker view now?
You should be. Do you see anything that says you're not?
I think I'm seeing you on screen.
Hmm.
Everything looks great. We can hear
Yeah,
you
no.
and see you in your paper. Perfect. All right. That's
Yes.
good. Okay. All right. I can see the Ilsa's beautiful face. I'm going to start with my Aqua Dolce. So I have Aqua Dolce and Elderberry. They're very two different blues. I'm going to see if I can make it darker so you guys can see. All right. And then we can zoom in a little bit. There we go. See, there are two different blues in here, two different tones. This one has more like an icy blue, and this one has a bit of like a mint color to it. Now, both are beautiful. And what I do is I mix these two, and it creates such a pretty shade. I don't know how to explain it. So what we're gonna do, our aim here is the top part of the paper. Zoom that out. Oops, sorry. Okay, this, we're not going to put too much color in this area, the top right. Okay, so this is where our light source is coming from. So we want to keep this as little color as possible. But we don't want to have it white as well because it's going to be weird. But we want to just blend out this part area. So this is our light source. So remember that. Now I'm just going to use my Aqua Dolce. This is actually, I think, my favorite color from the gelatos. I just love this blue. And I'm just going to start. Look at this. I'm just going to start scribbling the colors, and I'm going to put very little in here. It's okay. We're going to blend it just like that. We're going to mix the two colors in here. We're going to start with the Aqua Dolce and the Elderberry. And I'm just going to add it in here. I'll add a little bit here in the top right. Now, the reason why I love using gesso when it comes to gelatos, because you can easily, it's blendable. It's much easier to blend things. But like what I said, I just got to work a little extra today. And I hope I don't shake the table too much. All right, so the way I'm going to blend it, we can blend it kind of like the water straight onto the paper, and you can blend it this way, just like this, start blending just like that. Well, look at that. The gelatos are really blending very easily. How about we start with this one? Let's just make happy mess. And with on the top right, I'm going to make sure that I really blend this out because like what I said, we don't want too much color in there. So we're just going to blend this. Now the gelatos, people often mistake them for oil pastels because they are the same creamy texture to it. My table is like shaking. We just started, Christy. Welcome. But they are not because the oil pastels, of course, oil and water, they don't do so well together. The gelatos are water soluble. So look at this. You can easily create this beautiful background. What I love about the gelatos, and sometimes do not like, I know, as ironic as that may sound, it's like an oxymoron, but I don't like it because once it's blended, it's there. I mean, you cannot pull it off. If it dries, it's done. So with watercolor, when it dries and then you apply water again. You can lift those colors. With the gelatos, once they're dry in here, you cannot lift the colors. They're there. So sometimes, it frustrates me. But then again, just understanding how to work, how the medium work, then you can get the idea, right? So you practice more. Okay, I know I got to work a little faster when I'm working with the gelatos, if I want to blend it. All right, so next is our middle color. So I think I'm gonna use a snow cone. So this is the snow cone. Let's look at the elderberry and the aqua dolce, just so you guys can compare the colors that we're using today. So this is like really cold blue. Now I want to start working with my layers. I want the texture. We've added like kind of like our first layer, a very wash look of the blue and all that. So that's like our underpainting. Now I really want to work on some textures as well. So I'm going to be mindful about the way I apply the gelatos, although we can still manipulate it how we're going to blend it out. But I really want to create like rays like this. So you want to have spaces in between, just like that. And I'm really not applying too much pressure when I'm applying the gelatos, just like very light pressure, just like this. So, we're just drawing parallel lines in here. And I'm going to do the same thing I did. I'm going to use less water though. I don't want it like super dripping. So just kind of like that. And I'm going to go in one direction also. So going from my right to the left. Now I'm applying a little bit of pressure just so I can blend it out without being too careful. Does that make sense? I mean, you want to be intentional with your every stroke, but you don't want to be just let loose. It's okay. As long as we're going one direction like this, sideways. We're not doing any circular motion or anything like that. We're just doing this right here, up and down, up and down. I feel like I have too much colors in here, so I'm just going to blend it down. So if you feel like your gelatos are not blending enough, maybe you need a bit more water. So just this. I don't want any harsh line in here, so I'm just going to blur that out also. Just like that. Hi, Cecilia. I skipped on the gesso. It is just to prep your paper. What happens is that it's much easier to blend the gelatos with the gessos first, but sometimes it depends on the paper. Like this is a Canson watercolor paper, and I'm not having any trouble with blending the gelatos. It's blending really well. I skipped that one because it just takes a little bit of time to dry, and we have such a limited time. So you can definitely use that to prep your paper first for your next project. Just like that. We're just going to blend it. There. Ooh, it is looking different now. Okay. I don't know where my heat gun is. I might have to look for my heat gun, guys. I know I have it. Oh, it's just right here. I'm just going to plug it in just so we can speed up the process. I just didn't look well enough earlier. Well, it's really hard to bend. Okay. I did it. But the paper, just because I didn't use a whole lot of water, the paper is moist, but it's not super wet. So I think I can proceed with our next layer. All right, so for next layer, I want a deeper blue. And my next one would be a blue sapphire or the metallic blueberry, but I don't want to add any sheen to this yet. So I'm going to see if I have like a deeper blue color that is not metallic. I have all my gelatos in here. I think that's it. I think my next one is like a super deep aqua and it's also iridescent. The iridescent finish also have this sheen to it. And they're just different. Sometimes it has like I like to say it's a mica powder. Sometimes there's like a gold mica powder finish to it. It's just all different, but it's so beautiful. The iridescents are meant to use for layering. And so if you're wondering about that, it is so pretty to use for layering. I have a nebula color, which is kind of like an aqua color. Oh, look, it matches my nails. It's so beautiful. We might use it. If you don't have the nebula, you can definitely layer the snow cone again, just deepen the colors in here, add more saturation to it. And I'm going to do the same. So I'll use the snow cone just so if you don't have the nebula, we'll just use it. And now this is going to be the deepest, darkest shade. It is the bottom of our ocean right now. So I'm going to add this, and this is the snow cone. Now, if you have like the black hole, this one, I put this in the list. So if you have it, if you don't have it, if you have like a deep purple or a dark gray, that will work. But I'm just going to add a little bit of this because the gelatos are blendable. So we're going to create a different shade here by mixing these two colors together. So think of it kind of like a watercolor. And I'm going to use my finger again. And I'll just start applying the colors just to kind of break down those pigments in there. I think I've added too much by looking at this. I've already added too much color. So the key to that is I'm going to use a baby wipes because when you use a baby wipes, you're kind of like lifting some of the colors, but just be careful because we don't really want to lift the bottom, the first layer that we've already applied in there. And so if you apply too much pressure, that's what's going to happen. You're going to start lifting your first layer. And so I'm just going to clean that up. Now I'm going to use a finger. There's a bit of moisture from the baby wipes. So I'm just going to do a circular motion just to really blend the snow cone in here. But this is what we want. We want to create like a dark color in here. And then remember, the beauty of the gelatos is we can layer it. So now this part, my finger is getting dry. I'm just going to touch the baby wipes. I'll just start blending again. I don't want to add too much water. So I'm just using the moisture from the baby wipes. Just like that. There, that's what we really wanted. Can you guys see the bottom? I see that. There. It's going to look so pretty. Now, I feel like I want to add the nebula color. Was it nebula? Look how close that is to my nails. So pretty. Now I'm going to start another layer. This is what I love about the gelatos. The layering part. Yeah. I don't want it too much in there. So notice how when I was at the bottom, I was doing more of like a circular motion. And then the more I go up in here, then I start doing this direction, the up and down, up and down. We don't want to lose that. So even if I'm blending here in a circular, when I get to this part, I kind of go sideways, right? So if you want to blend this and doing circular motion, when we reach this, we got to go up and down. We'll do the same thing. This is such a pretty color. I'm sorry, guys, why I didn't add this on the list. So pretty, though. Definitely a very aqua color. All right. Now I want to create almost like I don't want to add too much depth or really it's a vignette. Is that what it's called? Vignetting on the sides. But I also want to frame it. So we're just going to add little at a time so we don't overdo it. So I'm going to use the snow cone because I want to add the blue first here. So this is whole water where this is under the sea scene. So this is just kind of like you're getting a reflection of the sky also. That's why you have the blues in here. Just like that. Use my fingers. Just like that. I feel like it's getting harder to blend. Maybe because we have too much layers in here already. It's okay. We just gotta really moisten our fingers without adding too much water. So this is where the baby wipes is really good. Okay. So believe it or not, we want to add a little bit of a black hole in this area right here. Okay, just a little bit. If you're using a painter's tape, this is really good because just add it outside. So add it on top of your painter's tape and then just kind of blend that. So you're just adding a little bit at a time. So that serves a little bit double purpose, your painter's tape. Kind of like here. So we don't apply it directly onto the paper because we don't want to have like staining where we applied it. So it's easier if you don't have a painter's tape, if you have like a Ziploc, or a silicone mat or anything like that, like this, you can apply it here first in the surface right here. Wet your finger with a baby wipes or water, pick up the color, and then just slowly dab it there. Or if you don't have anything like this, then what you can do is just pick up directly from your gelatos, just like that. See, but just be careful with the amount of product you're picking up. You'll see that I already picked up too much. And so remember, we want this to go like that. I have some products on my fingers. Good thing I was doing this. So we want to add there anyways. And if you have that like me, just use your baby wipes just to kind of like clean it up. See, there we go. There. I'm going to do the same thing in here, just a little bit of product. I'm going to learn my lesson. Just so we can create like box it in, frame it in, and all that. Just creating like shadows of the ripples of the current down there. I think it's more this type of painting is more of a feeling, than actually like details. Is more of what you feel when you look at this. It's very simple, very, very simple actually. All right, now next step is we want to start adding our metallics in here because once you start adding different finish, it adds layer to it, visually. You see the sheen and then there's a matte area in there, then there's some sheen areas in there. So it's so pretty. And so we want to add it where we added the blue earlier. So the snow cone. I'm just going to apply very little for now because we can always add more. Just like that. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start blending. feel like you've added too much product, we're going to do what we did earlier. We're going to use the baby wipes directly. Just make sure that you choose a cleaner or area without the snow cone, that dark, I mean, without the black hole. And very lightly, this is important because we don't want to ruin the texture of the paper. And we also don't want to lift up too much color of the first two layers that we've added. So very gently, just kind of blend it and go one direction. Like that. I feel like I want to add a bit more of the blue area in here. So this is the elderberry. I'm just going to add it here because I don't like it that it's too white. So we're just going to add more colors in there and just go blend it all out. Yeah, absolutely. With watercolor pencil, I think it's just going to be a different type of techniques, of course. With a watercolor pencil, you just have to go one layer at a time and let it dry. It might be different the way it's going to blend, but I think it's still going to look really pretty. So just work on layers also. I really am not super happy with, look at this, the metallic, again, because it's a different finish, right? So, and I feel like I've added too much of that product. But the good thing is that I can apply more of the aqua dolce, the lighter color, kind of like a lighter mint color. And I'm just going to add more in here. I'm going to add there too. And I'm just going to start blending. Watercolors are going to be fun. Watercolor pencils. The only thing I question is that maybe if you're going to do this with a pencil, so you start with a smaller canvas because you know how pencils are. Sometimes it takes a while to cover a larger space. So I say practice with something smaller, maybe kind of like a 4x6, you know, something like that, where you can just really get the hang of applying the colors. So what colors first goes first and the layering and all that. So I'm going to use the elderberry again, more of that very cool, cool blue, and add it in between that white area, the in between space of the first layer. And then I'm going to blend it as well. Whoopsie, I have a little bit of that dark color in there. Now I'm using a cold press, so there's a lot of texture. You can still see a lot of texture. If you use the gesso, you might not have this issue. Yeah, I think so. I've never worked with the that tempera sticks, but I have a feeling that they might. Is it water soluble? If it's water soluble, then you are going to be using the same technique for sure because you know you're going to need moisture, you're going to need water to start blending the products. But as you can see with, you know, the gelatos, it's just the pigmentation. There's a lot of pigments in here and good quality pigments also, and it's so easy to blend. All right, so I feel like I have the darkness, you know, the dark area covered in here, but I really want to create almost like there's ripples. There's like I feel like I don't have enough layers. So I want to add the metallic, was it the blue sapphire? I believe it's the blue sapphire, which is the iridescent. I want to have a little bit of the blue in here because I feel like it's too aqua, you know, so I want to bring in a bit of that blue. So again, in between like that. So we just want to start adding more colors in here. We really want to fill this with colors. Don't be scared because we can blend it. You know, does that make sense? So I understand in the beginning we were trying to be careful, but we've already established our layer. So now we're just adding more colors and layers to this. If you feel like your baby wipes is already getting dry, Dip it in water and then just kind of like there, squeeze the excess and then just start blending again. Or just use your fingers directly. Ooh, I love it. I love it. It needed this blue for sure. So that one is the blue sapphire. So pretty. You know, if you're worried that you lost the white space in between, don't worry because we have our white gelatos in here. We have two finish. We have the coconut, and then we also have a metallic icing as well. Ooh, that really needed that blue in there. The thing is, remember, it's the gelatos is when it's dry, you that layer underneath is it's there. You're not gonna lift it up unless you really scrub it in. You're gonna lift the texture of the paper, not really the color. So everything that we've applied earlier is gonna stay in there. Then we can start adding layer, and then we can start blending while it's still fresh and wet. We can blend, but once they're dry, that color is going to stay. So basically what's happening is like you're just adding another coat to it. So you're just adding another layer on top of that. So we're not really blending with the underneath layer, with the layers underneath. We're just creating another layer on top of it. So that's why I love using this for mixed media for that purpose and for that reason, is that I know that I will not hurt as long as I prepped and planned my artwork, then I know that I can just start adding layers after layers and not worry about the underneath, even when I'm adding more water to it. So I'm just adding a little bit of this black hole because I really want to add like some darker shades here, kind of like a shadow in between the ripple or the current, just like that. Don't be scared to add a little bit of that. It's going to be okay. And then again, remember, we can cover it up also, right? Because what we want to do is create like almost like there's like ray from the light on top, but we also want to create like a look of some current movement of the water underneath. So we're just going to add that little at a time. So we're going against now um that first layer. Remember, we were doing a sideways. Now we want to do a horizontal, more of a horizontal, but think loose. You know, you don't want it to be straight line. That's what you don't want. So you kind of want to just kind of like this. Think of a wave. So when you're adding it, just a wavy. Don't add a straight line. That's what we don't want. We don't want any sharp or um, stiff movement in here. We want a very loose wave structure like that. Just a little bit though. So I'm just using the baby wipes where it's not super wet anymore. It has a little bit of moisture left. So I'm just using that and just blending. Add just a little at a time. Take your time. Just avoid sharp lines, straight horizontal line. So you just want to go add some movement to it, add some movement to that, just underneath. All right, we don't want to add too much of that dark because it can get messy real quick if you don't do it correctly. So I'm going to start adding the blue sapphire as well, that blue color that we added. And I'm going to add this directly. And look how loose my lines are, but I'm just focusing on the bottom part. That. I'm going to use my finger this time. So it's really wet. Be careful because some parts of it are still wet, so they're going to blend. So I'm just careful with my wet fingers. And then just dab the excess. the more you work with the gelatos, the more you're just going to find that happy medium of where I can still blend it with the layer underneath, or know when it's completely dry already. It's like I really cannot teach you that. You're gonna have to kind of like learn it yourself, because I don't know how, the humidity is different sometimes, your paper might the paper you're using might dry really faster than mine. So it's so different. So just kind of like use your intuition also. No, look at this one. This is a part where I lifted some parts of the gelatos. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see. See how this part is lifted because I used too much water. No, Luke, the second one I used is the sapphire, the blue sapphire. So the darker shades is the black hole, and then the blue sapphire is what I applied directly to create kind of like some current, some movement underneath here. We're just going to add a little bit more directly to it. Then I'll blend it again. So just little at a time. Just like that. Okay. So this part right here sticks out so much because of the finish, because of that metallic finish to that. And do I necessarily love it? I don't think I necessarily love that. So I want to cover up a little bit of that with an aqua dolce. So just there's some time to sometimes to really have something pop, and that's where the metallic comes in, because you're going to see it. Your eyes are going to go directly to that. Does that make sense? Because it's metallic. So, it's like, hey, pay attention to me. So if you feel like you've added too much of the metallic and your eyes goes directly straight to that, you can always cover it up like this. So I'm just using the aqua dolce to cover up parts of that metallic that I don't really want to stand out too much. Even though I'm applying, what is this? A kind of like fifth layer now, I can still see the texture of the watercolor paper. See that? You can still see that white negative space in there. All right, I feel like I've added too much dark in here. See that? We've added too much of the black hole, guys. We want to do, we don't want to be symmetrical, but we want it to kind of like match it up here too, where we have a little bit of that shadow. And just work gently, just like that. And sometimes it's hard to see also, when you have the painter's tape, sometimes it's hard to really envision this. It's like, is this really how I want it? Right. This is what I was thinking when I first looked at the sample painting I created when I was working on the class. I feel like the corals and the seaweeds at the bottom of the ocean is like it pops so much because I've used the markers directly. But I want to create almost like a shadowy, imperfect parts of the seaweeds in there. And then we can add markers on top to really have it, sharp and defined, to create the almost like shadow in between. Underneath layer, we have to use the gelatos wet. So we're going to work it kind of like a watercolor. So we can use this palette. If you have a palette, like that, you can use that directly. We don't want um too much color. So we're going to add water, right? Because we don't want that to pop, because this is going to be just kind of like a shadow. Now, when we draw the seaweeds, if you feel like you need to practice, grab a piece of paper. This is like, and just use your round brush. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. Remember, brushes, we can create thin and thick strokes just depending on the pressure that we're going to apply. So I'm going to have it, see how I'm holding it like this. So the tip, So I'm going to go light, heavy, and I'm going to let the brush do its magic. So light, body, lift it like that again, and then tip, and then body. So switch in between. Again, let's do that, okay? So tip of the brush, body of the brush, tip of the brush, body of the brush, tip again, just like that. So you apply pressure, right? So yes, this is the black hole. I'm using the black hole for this color. Let's practice that again. And so just practice with the direction. So again, with this one, you don't want it perfect. I feel like the more loose it is, the better it's going to get. So I'm going to use a bit more, pick up a bit more of the color, apply it directly here. Just like that. And then add more water. Isn't it so fun, the gelatos? You can use it so many different ways. And I want to concentrate on the sides. So we're just going to apply it just like that. Over here too. It's like that. Now I need to make more. So I'm just going to apply the gelatos. You can just do it like this. So this black hole, if you're going to look at the gelatos directly, it's like a deep purple. But then look at that. It's like, I don't know what's the magic behind the iridescence, but it's so beautiful. So I'm just going to add more water in here. And then there's like a gold sheen to it. Or is it a purple sheen? I don't know. It's like, can you even tell on the camera? Look how beautiful that is. It's like black and purple together. So we'll just add a bit more here. So look, I'm just dabbing just to kind of like create like a coral. I'm just using the brush to create marks. So basically I'm just making marks in here. Like rocks, coral in there. I have heavy hands, so heavy. So again, this is not meant to look perfect. So if you feel like, oh, I just messed it up, I feel like I don't like the shape I created, guess what? While it's still wet, we can still kind of like erase it. See, I feel like I want to make it more scribbly instead of pointy. Like that. Yeah, like that. And then just add a little bit more depth to it. This one, we're going to have to let it dry for sure. There. While it's still drying, or I can make it dry. Let me know if this is loud. Oh, it's dry already. That was fast. Perfect. Oh, perfect. You really couldn't hear it? Thank you, microphone. This microphone's good. Okay. Now we're going to go look at our art because I'm like, I question that rocky situation we have there. If you feel like questioning that rocky thing, we can start adding a little bit of the black hole and just blend it all out. I'm going to use the baby wipes. Ah! Don't go brush. Just add a bit more moisture. We can cover up this part also right here. There. I dropped my brush. Oops, I'm lifting. See, this is where baby wipes are kind of dangerous because I have heavy hands. So I'm not, sometimes I kind of like not pay any more attention because this part is still wet. So the baby wipes was lifting the colors. Be careful. I almost see this kind of like King Triton's land, far, far, far away. Where's my brush? Oh no, I dropped my brush. It's like crazy how our imagination goes. Earlier it was just like a rocky formation. Now I feel like there's like a kingdom right over there, very, very, very far away. All right. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. This is the blue sapphire. What's gonna be interesting is a layer of colors right here. I'm gonna let this go soon. The bottom right there. I'm just going to add a little bit more of the blue. And then if you have your white, if you have a coconut, if you have metallic icing, we're going to use that next, our white color. I'm just adding a bit more like shadowy effect here, just like that. But I feel like we did really well. But where does that came from? Okay, guys, be careful if you have like dirty fingers that you don't want the colors to get in your canvas. Make sure to clean up in between because I had a little bit of that, and I'm going to move this on to the side so we don't accidentally make ay ay ay. We're going to put our turtle in there later. It's okay. But I think we're all good. Looking at my samples, I feel like I want to add a little bit more. Oh, not that. I don't want any metallic at this point. We want to add the aqua dolce a little bit here and maybe a bit of the nebula. So we have a little bit of the aqua color. This one is not metallic. Guess we just want to bring in the colors in here just a bit more. Just like that. Believe it or not, it's already 5:49. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, I hope you'll be able to join us live next time because it's more fun when we're doing this and we can kind of like ask questions in between, we have a little bit of engagement. My problem with the gelatos is actually knowing when to stop because you feel like, oh, I can add a little bit more here, a little bit more there. I don't know if that's the gelatos or if that's me being a Libra. So, do we have any Libra here in the house? I love it. It's gonna like sometimes it's like never enough. Oh, I want to bring in colors. Oh, I added too much colors. It's like never enough. I'm gonna add a little bit of that blue sapphire. So we have like in between the aqua, the nebula. The nebula color is so pretty. I think you need this. If you don't have it in your stash, you need the nebula color for sure. I'm not kidding, guys. So I'm just adding snow cone, adding nebula. Look at what we did there. I don't like that it's too much of the black hole. So I'm just adding a nebula. And I mean, I think it's the blue sapphire. Yep, it's blue sapphire. All right. I think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna. This part right here, I feel like I've messed it up absolutely, completely. I'm just gonna start adding a bit more of the black hole. Bear with me. This is what I love about art, though, is that if you're not happy with it, change it. That's the beauty of that, is that no one's shouldn't judge yourself. It's kind of like, oh, I didn't really like what I did in there, or I bit too much. Well, guess what? We can just change it completely. And it's really hard to see when you have like the painter's tape in here, like that too. Now I'm just using whatever I have in my finger just to kind of add a bit there. the framing. And this is what I do in real life when I'm doing artwork, is that you're just kind of like, okay, add here, add more there, and all that. Okay, so now we're going to go down to the white. So this time I need to make sure my fingers are really clean. We don't want any more of that black hole because this is the white color that we're going to use. Remember when what did we use? Metallic mint, where was kind of like really the focus because it was the sheen to it, the finish. So we want to do that, but we want to use the metallic icing. Now, if you don't have the metallic icing, if you have the coconut, it's perfectly fine. You don't need the metallic icing. I want to make sure that this is clean as well. So I'm just going to clean it, baby wipes like this, because it looks like it has like a very pink undertone to it. I probably used it with a pink color. So, and then here we want to go in between the blue. So just find like a little area for your white. Can you already see the finish to that? It has a sheen to it. And who knows, we might need both. We might actually need the coconut and then the metallic icing also. Because sometimes it's kind of like it's just a finish. It's that metallic finish, and but you need saturation of the white. Then that's where the coconut will come in. Again, notice the direction, how I'm blending everything. Just going like this, like that. And I think I was right. We're going to need a little bit of that coconut. I'm going to add, see the difference of the coconut to the metallic icing. So you actually have a pure white saturation here. I'm just going to finish that, bring it down. So you really have that light, like shining. I'm just going to bring and blend everything down like this. Just like that. Just going one direction. I'm going to add a bit more here. We're just going to bring that down. I want to bring this just like that. Just like that. Oh, it's so pretty already. I'm going to clean my finger. Just kind of blur everything here. Just like that. And I think I'm going to take it off the tape so we can visualize it. Now, be careful with those little bits and pieces of the gelatos. Make sure you clean them up because you don't want your desk to get dirty. So we're just going to clean it. Now we should get our marker because we're going to add details to here, and we're going to add our little kind of like sea turtle if you want to add like fish instead of a sea turtle. I never have problems with this painter's tape peeling, but you never know. If you have issues like that, make sure to kind of like use a heat gun or a blow dryer just so you don't hurt your paper. Ooh, I have some bleed. It's okay. It looks so different when there's no more painter's tape. You can see, really see the clean edge. but I have a bleed right there. I think I used too much water in there. It's okay. There we go. Now let's just add our sea turtle and we are ready to. I know that is, I feel like that's the most satisfying part is lifting the painter's tape. I really think so too. Now I want to add some sea turtle. Now let's start here with um our seaweeds first. Now again, kind of like how we did when we used our round brush, it's going to be the same way because the Pitt Artist pen, it has a brush tip. So really you can use it to create a thin and thick stroke, but it's not going to be as flexible as a real brush, of course. So again, like this, just so we kind of just gauge how thick we can go and how flexible this brush pen is. If it's not so flexible, then at least you know, right? So don't go straight right into your artwork. Make sure to kind of just like practice first, loosen up um your hands first. All right. So I don't really want to go on top of what we created. Almost want to go against that. So I'm just going to go add this. If you're using the smaller Pitt Artist pens and you feel like you're picking up some of the gelatos, because sometimes you'll be able to. So just kind of clean it up on a piece of paper and it's okay. You can just clean it like that and it's going to be okay. Again, do not overthink this one because we're really not aiming for kind of like realism here. It's more of a feeling, impressionistic art like that. So if you want to add a little smaller, like that. Just like this. If you want to add a little bit here, I think it's still going to, yep, it shows up on top of that. It's just so serene. I feel like, okay, sea turtle. This one, I am going to be honest with you. I was overthinking, definitely overthinking the sea turtle. So the further away the sea turtle is, it should be smaller, right? So if it's closer here, then it should be bigger. So just that vantage point. So I was really definitely overthinking the sea turtle, but just kind of like draw an oval shape. And then we're just going to do 4. And then a head. Definitely overthinking it again. It is not looking like a sea turtle now. Oh my goodness, Lay. We're just gonna draw another one here. This one, draw it as sideways, kind of like drawing eyes. And I feel like it's the brush pen. I'm gonna blame the brush pen, not my heavy hands. Just like that. And don't forget the tail. If you need to use like a finer, maybe a smaller tip for this one, just so you can make it much better than how I did, definitely use a finer pen. I'm gonna fix it, but really, this is what we're. I don't know what that is, and you guys are laughing at me, but this is our very serene painting for today using the gelatos. I hope just seeing the process of, how blending, how everything kind of like scary in the beginning because especially doing the underpainting, so it's like, oh man, I don't know. I feel like I've added too much of this color or I've added too much of that. So I think when you see the process, that's the thing that will help you even more that, oh, Look how she did that. So if you missed anything during the class, remember that this class will be available tomorrow over at Michael's YouTube channel. So thank you all so much for joining. I had lots of fun, even though I am not super proud of my sea turtle right now, but I'm going to fix that later. Thank you all so much for joining. Happy Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy this beautiful weather we're having. So hopefully not too much storms coming, but be safe, be well, always stay creative and stay happy. Thank you, everybody. Until next week, my name is Lay. I'll see you again soon. Bye.